Synergy Learning Systems. Potential clients ask us many questions. Everything from what kind of programs do you offer? And what type of business or individuals are they created and customized for? To when is your next live event? And are all of your programs online? How many programs do you offer? And do you provide ongoing coaching? And who should attend? And what do participants say about your training? What age group are they designed for? And are they applicable across all industries and verticals? Are they only for business? Or will they work with families and relationships? And how much are they? All great questions to go along with a dozen more that we do often receive. And the answers to all those questions and more can be found on our website at synergylearningsystems.net. That's .net, not .com. There we'll find we have in-depth overviews of each of our programs on our programs page. And we have pricing information on our investments page. We consistently have more and more documentation on what others are sharing about us and our programs being added to our testimonials page nearly every single week. One of the most important questions that we receive about our training is about the content of our programs, and that is what this specific video is designed to share. This video will share an overview and sampling of our content and how our systems and processes are constructed. This video is not designed to review the investment options or our calendar or events or reporting structures or testimonials or social proof. With that in mind, let's begin. Our comprehensive training content for sales, influence, effective communication, rare listening skills, and more can be applied to any industry and every walk of life. We've created 4 distinct programs that incorporate all of our training content with 4 specific departments in mind: CSR, tech, sales, and leadership. Because of my extensive experience over the past 2 decades as an award-winning contractor, specifically in the realm of HVAC and plumbing, we chose to initially provide comprehensive and in-depth role plays for the call center, tech, and sales processes in those 2 industries. However, we've also designed our programs and our content so that no matter the industry or vertical, all of our content is templated and delivered in our comprehensive workbooks in a way that can be easily and systematically customized. It's analogous to defining a step-by-step process to run a 26-mile marathon that has been clearly defined and crafted over the past 30 years with a plan for every step along the race. And as we approach the last mile, we've provided time and space that will require some small, minor adjustments and customizations to be tailored for the hundreds of other business types and situations. We can assure everyone watching and all of our clients that join our programs that this will be more simple than expected, especially once the 7 foundations have been studied, mastered, and applied over a span of 52 weeks. It will require some work, regardless of whether you're in the HVAC or plumbing space, life insurance and health insurance, or car sales, boat sales, and jet sales. Or if you're in home improvement and remodels, kitchen and bath, pest control, or electrical, roofing, siding, windows and doors, flooring, landscaping, or groundwater, solar, remediation, or restoration. Our programs and our content can be applied far beyond the world of contracting as well. We've implemented these concepts to train healthcare providers, dental professionals, mortgage lenders, digital marketing firms, real estate agents, and real estate brokers, graphic design artists, videographers, IT professionals, and AI developers, psychologists, and licensed psychotherapists. Perhaps you're not in business at all, and that's okay. We believe you're in the right place as well. In fact, while creating these programs, we also designed it with you in mind. Perhaps you're the significant other of a program participant, Or maybe you're a teenager who has a parent or loved one that has asked you to experience this program along with them. Regardless of the case or situation, we encourage everyone to see this opportunity as a compliment, and quite frankly, the furthest thing from some type of punishment. Someone has found and determined you to be a worthwhile investment and felt like you could gain value from your participation. Now, I've personally invested over 30 years and tens of thousands of hours studying this content, and thousands of hours compiling, organizing, and customizing it. And now over $1 million of my personal resources, without any guarantee that anyone would find any value in it, or would feel compelled to invest a single dollar into it. I've done this because of a belief and a faith that this program and content could help to transform millions of lives, businesses, families, and relationships. I have a burning desire to help others, and I've adopted the belief that I first heard from Zig Ziglar, that we can have anything we want in life, as long as we're willing to help others get what they want. So here at Synergy, we set out years ago to create a virtual platform and delivery method that does not require plane flights, conference centers, hotels, rental cars, or valuable time away from our business, our family, our friends, and our customers. Our programs have been designed and developed to help all of us to become more effective communicators and to become more effective in every area of our lives, to achieve more than what we may have believed was possible, more than what we have come to believe that we are destined for, to live happier, healthier, and more productive lives, and to do it all with integrity. And while there are lots of other companies, trainers, and training organizations with programs covering some of these areas, our clients have shared with us that they believe, after experiencing and immersing themselves in our training content, that we are different. Each of our programs are designed to inspire and guide us to true mastery in the areas of effective communication, influence, and the development of family and company culture through proven leadership and communication styles. One of the most important questions that we receive about our training is about the content of our programs and what might make us different than the myriads of other programs, speakers, and options that are available in the market today. And while we often hear that there's nothing new in the world of business, consulting, sales training, influence, goal setting, answering phones, running service calls and sales leads, or leadership skills and development, our clients often share with us that they feel like our systems and processes, and in particular, the things that we share surrounding effective communication, are the newest, the most refreshing things that they've experienced in the past 30 years. They're also sharing that the way we package it, deliver it, and implement it is unlike anything that they've ever experienced before. We don't believe that one and done training events work, at least not in the long term. Whether it be 1 hour, 1 day, or 1 week, most training programs end up on the shelf within a matter of days or weeks. What was initially inspiration and motivation quickly turns to disappointment and frustration. And that's just one of the reasons that we decided to make a mission of ours to solve the challenge of implementation. And not just initially, but permanently. To solve a challenge that we've not found anyone else is truly focused on. We also believe, and perhaps one of the most important reasons, that what we've developed is actually getting implemented consistently is because it does not require anyone to become salesy, manipulative, or high pressure, or to break their moral code. And it's designed to reduce or even completely eliminate conflict. This can be applied across the board in our business, among our team members, our families, our friends, our intimate relationships, and even with our children. In fact, we've designed the entirety of our comprehensive training programs around what we like to call communicating and closing without conflict. I'm going to repeat that. Whether it's our call center or anyone in our field staff or our sales team or our family or our friends, we've designed ways to communicate and close without creating conflict. We've designed ways to ask customers to schedule a visit multiple times without creating conflict. This translates into scheduling more calls, losing fewer opportunities, and generating more revenue. We've designed ways to ask customers for the order multiple times without creating conflict. This translates into closing more sales, fewer follow-ups required to be scheduled, and a dramatic increase in revenue. This applies to service calls and sales leads. This includes more accessory sales and higher average tickets, and more premium options being recommended, which translates into happier customers, more 5-star reviews, more referrals, and therefore less revenue required to be invested in marketing, and ultimately more customers and more motivated team members. And we guarantee that it can all be done without lying, cheating, or stealing, or selling something to someone that they don't need. Our communication training can also be used to not only reduce or eliminate conflict in the first place, it can also be implemented to repair strained or severed relationships. Sometimes this can happen overnight. Sometimes it could require a week or a month, or even a year of consistent effort. The great news is our clients and friends say that it will work in nearly every situation as long as we never stop implementing. And 1 year from now, it's guaranteed, but guaranteed only under 2 conditions that we refer to often in our programs. The first condition is that we keep going, and the second is that we don't quit, which are actually very similar, but we don't believe they are exactly the same. To us, one is about consistency and the other is about finality. We're acutely aware that continuing on and not quitting is easier said than done. In fact, we often refer to this as the mystery of our human experience, knowing exactly what we need to do and not doing it. But here at Synergy, we found that for most of us, it's not a matter of knowing, rather a matter of not consistently doing. While our programs can be described as solving a myriad of different challenges, we like to share that we help to solve the most important and rampant affliction that most of us suffer from, no matter our age, experience, race, culture, or creed, and that affliction is solving the challenge of implementation. Because once we know something, that's not nearly enough. Our results will be determined by our ability to implement and to do it consistently. And that's why we didn't stop at creating just a foundational program that will be forgotten long before it's mastered. We went the extra mile and about 100 more to create, design, and outline a 1-year path to mastery. A 1-year program that is designed to be anything but a quick fix. Rather designed to generate immediate results every step along the way, but more importantly, to have a long-lasting impact. And at the end of the first year, many of our clients choose to continue on in our programs year after year after year. Much like continuing to go to the gym, our mental fitness is just as important to maintain, just like our physical fitness. Our Synergy programs are designed to provide lifelong learning and inspiration. We are continuously adding content to our programs, keeping them fresh, engaging, and ongoing. For all of us that have dared to dream about a lasting legacy, about generational wealth, more fulfilling and meaningful lifelong relationships, to combat depression and procrastination, to increase our emotional intelligence and our overall effectiveness, we are very pleased to share our clients, family, and friends would say that we've all come to the right place. So let's plunge into the content and examine what's in store. Here at Synergy, we've developed 7 foundations of effective communication and influence to inspire your team, serve customers better, and of course, communicate and close without conflict. In this video, we'll identify and share a brief explanation of each of the 7 foundations. These 7 foundations that form the pillars of our comprehensive and proven programs are: first, the ground rules, communicating to persuade not to manipulate. There is one word that we believe defines the difference, and we've built each of our entire programs to prove it. Here we'll be challenging many things that we've been led to believe about sales and the psychology of influencing others. We'll be exploring how we can influence others while adhering to our moral compass, a strict code of ethics, and doing it all without conflict and what typically feels like an argument. Second, our mindset. How do we develop a winner's mindset? A mindset that is laser focused, that is geared and programmed to overcome life's challenges. A mindset of truly serving our client in the best way possible. A high service, not a high pressure approach. A mindset that doesn't avoid life's challenges, rather expects them, welcomes them, compartmentalizes them, and faces them head on. We'll be diving into the science of achievement and the proven strategies of the most successful humans in the history of this planet that have come before all of us. This includes developing a mindset of ultimate preparedness, that the details do in fact matter, and that we are determined to master them. This includes embracing the idea that if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. Third, becoming a wordsmith. The words we share matter. Our chosen words will create conflict or they will eliminate it. And fourth, becoming a rare listener. RARE is an acronym and a formula that we've developed here at Synergy. We will illustrate a memorable way for us to begin listening with the intent to understand first, rather than to be understood. Our clients say this creates absolute magic in both their life and business. Fifth, communicating with generalizations and transition statements. Sentence structure is key and is guaranteed to eliminate conflict in the vast majority of our communications. We believe our programs contain the most effective and influential sentence structure, drastically reducing conflict and lowering sales resistance. Sixth, utilizing the science of influence, which includes the 7 principles of persuasion throughout each presentation we make. Every sentence and phrase is carefully crafted to implement the science of influence and the proven principles of persuasion. And this brings us to the 7th foundation of effective communication and influence, and communicating and closing without conflict. The EKG method of performance. This relates to an abundance of presentation styles and techniques, including our tone, cadence, volume, and speed. Not only do the words we share matter, the way in which we share them matters. Within this foundation, we'll also be diving into our body language and our posture, our movements, our eye contact, and so much more, and how those play a significant role in our ability to influence and communicate effectively and without conflict. Now that we've briefly identified each of our 7 foundations, we'd like to pose a couple of questions before we dive more deeply into each of these 7. Can you imagine what it would be like if our team and our customers had an indicator dial on their forehead that shared with us how each of our words and conversations were impacting them? Is our presentation style creating conflict? Are we creating sales resistance? Or are we eliminating it? In many situations, we may be surprised to learn that our communication style may be hurting our efforts to help those around us make informed decisions. We believe that when our 7 foundations are implemented and mastered, that we can effectively predict whether the person we're communicating with has an indicator dial moving in a positive or negative direction. What if our customers became less concerned about a cheap price and more concerned with uncompromising quality? What if our team members became the ultimate professionals, showing up on time, looking the part, acting the part, smelling the part, speaking the part, and effectively communicating with our team members and our customers in a professional manner at all times? What if our team members in our call centers answered the phones before the second ring? For those of us in the service industry, what if they never waived a diagnostic investment on a service call? Communicated the unique value we bring to the marketplace. Input every note perfectly into our software. Pulled every permit as agreed. created all job packets on time, and never complained about a team member in the field ever again. Too good to be true? Something out of the Twilight Zone? Perhaps. Perhaps not. There are 7 foundations to effective communication and influence, and most of us are ignoring these rules. Let's examine each of them a bit more closely. First, the ground rules. This centers around our commitment to communicate, to persuade, not to manipulate. We're curious if any of us watching this video or listening to this audio have ever given much thought to what constitutes the difference between persuading someone and manipulating them. Often when we ask this question to audience members, we receive an array of answers. Everything from lying or misleading or to presentation style and numerous other factors. The fact is, we believe each person in our organization has a responsibility to persuade customers to choose us for their project or service, for an investment that we have determined to be fair and that will allow us to build our business that serves our community, our team, and ourselves as business owners and business leaders. And if we are neither the business owner nor in a leadership position, all of the previously mentioned still applies. If we want a great employment opportunity, work-life balance, matching 401k plans, great health insurance and other company benefits, not to mention great commission plans, performance-based incentives, paid time off, holiday bonuses, increasing paid vacation time, and a myriad of other benefits, then we must all find a way to help the company achieve its goals. That includes finding a way to persuade our potential customers to become actual customers, and to do so by persuading them to choose us without dropping our price. Whether that be to choose us to service, repair, or replace, remodel, upgrade, or restore, maintain, or enhance. Whether that to be to offer or sell additional food items in a restaurant, more cars or upgraded accessories on a car lot, a better life insurance or health insurance plan, a bigger or more efficient home in real estate, or a non-traditional loan as a mortgage lender that better serves the home buyer, then we believe we have done our customer a potential disservice. And if that were not the case, and we don't believe that we will serve our customers better than our competitors, then we believe we must ask ourselves, why did we go into business in the first place? We believe that the difference between persuading and manipulating can be distilled down into a single word: intent. The foundations of effective communication, persuasion, and sales don't change, but the way in which we communicate them and for what cause makes all the difference. For example, all of us could deliver a presentation in all of the same masterful ways to influence our potential customers to choose us, implementing all of the same techniques and strategies. Yet if our intent is to trick or deceive, or the company we work for has no intention of standing behind the promises we made, then we have become nothing more than a masterful manipulator. But if our intent is to persuade another party to make a decision that is in their own best interest, whether they know it or not, then we have simply become a master of persuasion. We believe that a determining factor is how we intend to behave after we've persuaded someone to make a decision, to choose us, or to choose our product or service, or to do the thing that we're attempting to persuade them to do. Do we stand behind our product or service? Do we continue to do what we said we would do when we said we would do it? Suffice it to say that what is shared in this video is rooted in a belief that the viewer will implement what follows with honor, character, and integrity, adhering to their own moral compass without fail. The great news is that most of us are already implementing this first foundation of effective communication. So we begin our 7 foundations and our entire training philosophy on the grounds of our grandmother rule. If we wouldn't recommend something to our very own grandmother, then we believe we shouldn't recommend it to the person with whom we're serving we're communicating with. This brings us to the second of 7 foundations of effective communication and influence and communicating without conflict. Our mindset. How do we develop a winner's mindset? A mindset that's laser focused, that is geared and programmed to overcome life's challenges. And as previously mentioned, I've personally been studying and implementing these concepts for the past 30 years, since I was 19 years old. And for the 19 years prior to that, I was living them day in and day out without even understanding exactly what was transpiring. From the way I was raised to the sports that I played and the community that I grew up in, to be the things that were expected of me, the things that were tolerated, and perhaps most importantly, the things that were not. I've been participating in a mindset of pick yourself up, dust yourself off. Don't be whining. Nobody wants to hear you crying. Nothing will be given, everything will be earned, since as early as I can remember. You know, it certainly didn't feel good at the time, but it most certainly made me who I am today. If you didn't get today's work done, not acceptable. Get up earlier tomorrow, work later, and catch up. And if you didn't make the team or earn a starting spot, good. Get back out there, work harder, and try again next year. If you didn't make the grades, not acceptable. You're grounded, and you best try harder next time. If you got whooped in a fight, good. Hit the weights and come back stronger. If you want to buy something, great. Get a job and earn it. In my young adult life, I began studying others. From the all-time greats to the relatively unknowns that most have never heard of, and many of those in between. If I'm not learning, I'm dying. If I'm green, I'm growing. If I'm ripe, I'm dying. For the past 30 years, I've blocked at least 60 minutes per day to work on myself. 60 minutes per day that I work on personal growth. I've been reading or listening to something for at least an hour per day for the past 30 years. It's over 11,000 days now, and over 660,000 minutes. And for the past 10 years or more, I've been listening on Audible at 2x. That's double the speed. I am addicted to consuming personal growth materials, to learning something new each day, and revisiting concepts to work towards mastery each week. You know, at first, listening at 2x speed seems pretty fast. But in just a matter of minutes, going back to a regular 1x speed begins to seem nearly impossible. And within 5 minutes, listening at 1.5x will seem like a piece of cake. And if we push ourselves a bit, 1.5x will be too slow within a day or two. You know, some books, speakers, or podcasts I now listen to at 3x. And you know what? Our brain will fix it. You know something else? I absolutely love it. It's a habit, and it's the best thing that I've ever done. It's a lifestyle, and I believe it will drastically improve the life of anyone who implements something similar. It doesn't require anyone to make drastic changes in their life either. With the technology that is available today to all of us, it's simple, it's literally easy. The biggest challenge? It's even easier not to. Just a little over a decade ago, we had to make a tremendous effort and lifestyle change to make the time to sit down and read. Or we had to be in the car to listen to an audio cassette or CD. But that is simply not the case any longer. With our mobile device, we can record and listen to beneficial content during a vast majority of our mundane daily tasks. Here's just a few of the ways that I typically absorb not just 1 hour of content per day, but upwards of 3 to 6 hours per day now. And remember, that's because I'm listening at 2x, not regular speed. This allows me to consume twice the amount of information in half the time. And I can listen to an hour of content twice during that same hour. A 12-hour book becomes 6, and a 6-hour book becomes 3. A 1-hour podcast becomes 30 minutes. We can listen when we wake up. We can listen when we're in the shower. We can listen when we get ready for our day, while we make our breakfast or lunch or dinner. We can listen while we drive or fly or any other downtime. I call this my drive time university or my fly time university. I can listen while I walk around the block. I can listen while I work out or ride my stationary bike or my mountain bike. We can listen while working on the car, or while cleaning out the garage, or mowing the yard, or washing the truck. I think we get the idea. If we decide it's important, we will make the time, and our lives will be transformed right before our very eyes. We can have two things in life, but never at the same time: results or excuses. We must ask ourselves, is today going to be day one? Or will we continue to say, one day? 1 hour of our day represents roughly 4% of our day. And there's easily 4% in each of our days. That could be considered idle or wasted time, or perhaps doom scrolling time on our social media apps. By the time I wake up, shower, and get ready, even if I'm in a hurry, that's 15 minutes, and at 2x, I've already improved myself and my knowledge with 30 minutes of content. And if I ride the stationary bike for 30 minutes, there's another hour of content consumed. If I stretch for 30 minutes, there's another hour. And if I lift weights for 30 minutes, there's another hour. Between waking up, working out, showering, and getting ready for my day, all before 7 a.m., I've consumed the equivalent of 3.5 hours of content. And if I drive to work, before I even arrive at the facility 30 minutes away, I've consumed another hour of content for a total of 4.5 hours of knowledge, or revisit a book to work towards mastery. On most days, I can absorb a 4.5 hour book before work even begins at 8 a.m. This content inspires me daily to become the best version of myself. It doesn't make me perfect, and it never will. It makes me a work in progress, forever growing, always committed to trying. And throughout our programs, we'll be sharing books, concepts, ideas, podcasts, thought leaders, systems, and processes to help our participants to be exposed to content that may not have been otherwise. It will change the way we think. It will change our emotional state. It will change what we do. And when we change how we think and the things that we do, and we do things in more effective ways, we will absolutely change our results. Consuming this type of content in a program such as this will drive us to develop a mindset that doesn't avoid life's challenges, rather expects them, welcomes them, compartmentalizes them, and faces them head on. We'll be diving into the science of achievement in our mindset modules and the proven strategies of the most successful humans in history that have come before us. And as we often share, this includes developing a mindset of ultimate preparedness, that the details do in fact matter, and that we are determined to master them. This includes embracing the idea that if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. Our mindset and our work ethic will be a major factor in mastering the 7 foundations. This brings us to the third of 7 foundations of effective communication and communicating without conflict: becoming a wordsmith. The words we share do matter. Becoming a wordsmith is what we like to call an exercise in verbal gymnastics to create desired results. Tony Robbins, widely regarded as the greatest personal development coach in the world, is quoted as saying, "Throughout human history, our greatest leaders and thinkers have used the power of words to transform our emotions and to shape the course of our destiny." Words can not only create emotions, they create actions, and from our actions flow the results of our lives. We've identified well over 100 words that we recommend wordsmithing during our conversations with our team and our customers. Let's have a peek at just a couple of them here and deliver a bit of content that can be implemented immediately in your current presentations. Words such as price, cost, fee, and charge are all likely to conjure up negative emotions for our customers. What is a wordsmith term that we could replace these 4 words with that would be received as a positive? Instead of sharing with a customer what our price, cost, fee, or charge for a product or service is, we'd recommend wordsmithing that to the word investment. Words such as price, cost, fee, and charge are likely to conjure up negative feelings, emotions, and situations. No one wants to pay the price, and this is a term used to describe a punishment. When price is part of a conversation, we as consumers are conditioned to negotiate, argue, debate, and sometimes outright battle. In terms of cost, this is perceived as something we lose. It's an expense and doesn't communicate value. For example, that's going to cost you an arm and a leg. And a fee is typically a word that is most often used to describe things most of us don't like, such as ATM fees, parking fees, baggage fees, and late fees. And they all have negative connotations. And can we talk about the word charged for just a second? When we think about being charged, for most of us, it conjures up images of being charged with a crime, or charged by a bull, or charged by a jealous boyfriend at the bar, or overcharged by a contractor. However, from the time we were small children, most of us are conditioned to invest our money wisely, to invest our time wisely, to invest in ourselves, to invest in our future, to invest in real estate, to invest in the stock market. See, we feel as though anytime we're investing, we're doing something good for us, good for our family, good for our organization, and that we are behaving responsibly. Research has shown that negative words can actually increase the activity in our amygdala, also known as the fear center of our brain. The amygdala then releases stress-producing hormones and neurotransmitters, which block our brain's ability to think logically, even when a decision could be in our own best interest. If we use triggering words with the people we're communicating with, they may not even be able to think rationally, and are therefore potentially unable to make a decision in their own best interest, simply because of the way we are communicating with them. Two more words we recommend wordsmithing are spend and pay. The word invest works here as well. Spend and pay are both terms that are likely to create negative feelings and emotions. And when we use these terms, we are most likely discussing a situation that we do not perceive as beneficial. Many of us seem to get in trouble with our significant other when we spend too much money. One of the most common, uncomfortable, and often contentious situations in our lives tends to be during a dispute over finances with a significant other. We may often say things to our significant other like, "Why did you spend that much?" Or, "We never agreed to spend that kind of money." Another common use of the word spend is overspending. The fact is, in most circumstances, the word spend is associated with a depletion of valuable resources. And then there's the word pay. This word is often used in phrases such as pay the price, pay the piper, pay your fair share, time to pay up, pay the bills, pay the mortgage, pay your taxes, and bill pay. I think we've made our point. None of us really want to pay anything. Let's go ahead and tackle another set of words together, and since they're continuing along the same line of thinking as the first two, what could we wordsmith the terms dispatch fee or trip fee to? None of our customers really want to pay a dispatch fee or trip fee. They don't want to be charged for it, nor do they want to spend their money on it either. Let's help them to see this price, cost, fee, or charge for what it truly is, as an investment. And this applies to any time we ask our customer for money for any of our products or services. For example, the total investment for this project is $28,765.43. To own this new system, your family would be looking to invest $28,765.43. We would strongly recommend wordsmithing diagnostic fee to our diagnostic investment. And if that doesn't quite roll off our tongue the way we would hope, perhaps we can try an investment to diagnose instead. In addition to these initial 6 words that we've chatted about here, there are hundreds of words most of us are accustomed to sharing daily that we would recommend wordsmithing. Next up, and the fourth of 7 foundations of effective communications and communicating without conflict, becoming a rare listener. This incorporates some of Stephen Covey's work in the 7 Habits, where we focused on listening with the intent to understand rather than to be understood. The rare listening sequence is a 4-level formula for effective listening that we've customized and trademarked. Before we dive into how to become an effective listener, let's first define the difference between ineffective listening and effective listening. Ineffective listening is when we're only listening with the intent to respond. We're preparing our response as we listen to others while our focus is on our own needs, desires, and feelings. Effective listening is when we're listening with the intent to understand. While effective listening, we set aside our own opinions, clearing our minds to hear what the other person is sharing. Now, this does not mean that we have to agree with the other person. Being an effective listener means that we may ultimately agree or disagree. Dr. Stephen R. Covey famously shared that the deepest need of the human heart is to be understood. We believe that when we invest the time to understand others, we provide them with what we like to call psychological air. Zig Ziglar once said, "People don't care how much we know until they know how much we care." We think this applies here, as we recommend seeking first to understand others, then working to be understood ourselves. This applies to our customers as well. When we're curious and working to diagnose the challenges that they're facing in their home, we're providing psychological air and seeking first to understand. And the same thing goes for our children. When we do not feel properly diagnosed or listened to, we are much less willing to accept the prescription or recommendation. We've developed a simple 4-level formula to help us to master our effective listening skills. The rare listening sequence has been shown to work wonders in both our personal and business lives in a surprisingly short amount of time. RARE is an acronym that stands for repeat, acknowledge the emotion, rephrase and relate, and express. Let's examine each of them briefly. The first level of rare listening is the first R, which stands for repeat. This forces us to stop thinking about a response and listen to what is being said. We simply listen to their words and repeat their words back to them. Rare listening level 2, the A stands for acknowledge, as in acknowledge the emotion. We're not nearly as focused on the words that they're sharing, but rather on the way they feel about the subject matter. Rare listening level 3 is an R squared. These 2 R's stand for rephrase and relate. In part 1, the first R is rephrase. Here, we must think about what is being communicated. We then interpret their communication and put their words into our own. And part 2 is relate. Here we try to imagine being in their shoes and relate to what they are experiencing. And if we can't relate, simply share that we can't imagine what that must be like. And rare level number 4 is an E that stands for express. After we've listened effectively and the other person feels heard and understood, we can then request to share our perspective, experience, thoughts, or opinion with them. Most of us are very skilled and practice this one consistently without regard for the first 3 levels. And we don't typically begin the way that we share to toe into expressing. More about that later. The key differences here are that express now comes last, begins with a request, and seeks to understand the other before being understood ourselves. And becoming a rare listener is surprisingly simple, but it's not easy. The closer the relationship, the higher the stakes. The more emotion that is involved, the more difficult this becomes. Most of us are starving for this psychological air, and so are the people with whom we're communicating. Those of us who master this skill will have unlocked a magic in our lives that we likely could not have imagined, lowering sales resistance and conflict all along the way. And this brings us to our 5th of 7 foundations of effective communication and influence, and communicating without conflict. Communicating with generalizations and transition statements where third-person sentence structure is key. We believe this to be the most effective and influential sentence structure, reducing conflict and lowering sales resistance. And it's not likely what you might be thinking, as we are definitely not talking about speaking in the third person. Whether we're working inside the facility, out in the field, or simply communicating with friends or family, learning what we'll be sharing about first, second, and third person sentence structure combined with generalizations and transition statements is an eye-opening experience. This little-known communication secret can single-handedly practically eliminate sales resistance and have our team recommending solutions and asking for the order like never before. It seems the majority of our customers learning these communication concepts are curious, and sometimes even frustrated, as to why this information either hasn't been shared with them until now or has simply eluded them to this point in their life and career. Simply put, first-person sentence structure is when we communicate in I statements. These statements sound like, I think you should do XYZ, or I wouldn't do XYZ. While there is a time and place for these, when we utilize these types of statements early on in our presentation, the more we feel like and sound like a salesperson. Now, second-person sentence structure is when we communicate in you statements. Quite frankly, we don't recommend ever communicating in this way. These are what we refer to as mother-in-law mode, or critical parent mode, or micromanaging boss mode, or even overbearing significant other mode. You should do XYZ, or you shouldn't do XYZ. The more we communicate in this way, the more conflict and sales resistance we are creating for ourselves. Perhaps one of the things we enjoy the most about third-person sentence structure is that it allows us to leverage the principle of social proof each time that we speak in this manner. More on that in just a bit. This sounds like most of our customers in similar situations would install XYZ. Or, generally, our most satisfied customers have decided to add an XYZ to their system, or project, or program. Third-person generalizations also remove the focus from the person that we're speaking with. Now they don't feel like they're being told what they should do. And they don't get the impression that we're a narcissistic know-it-all either, trying to sell them things they don't need or want. If we've ever wished for a way that we could lower sales resistance, well, we found an absolute goldmine. These generalizations also help us to leverage the principle of consistency by sharing what others are doing and help to make us the authority for being educated on similar situations while leveraging the principles of likability as well. And when combined with adhering to our ground rules, becoming a wordsmith, implementing our rare listening, and now third-person sentence structure, the world can be our oyster. And we'll no longer have the potential anxiety that many of us feel about creating conflict with our customers by being perceived as a pushy, annoying salesperson. The sixth of 7 foundations of effective communication and influence, and communicating without conflict, utilizing the science of influence, which includes the 7 principles of persuasion to become the most effective communicators. We also recommend utilizing the principles of reciprocity, consistency, social proof, likability, authority, scarcity, and unity as often as possible. In 2006, I read the most comprehensive book that I'd ever found on the subject, Influence by Robert Cialdini. I had proven time and time again in my career at that point that being the cheapest was only one of many reasons that consumers make a purchasing decision. Quite frankly, this being the cheapest option has never been a strategy I was willing to pursue. And when I read this book, I felt like I had undeniable proof, scientific proof, that being the cheapest was not only not necessary to serve a significant portion of the marketplace, it was the opposite of what was required to serve my target market. I've always wanted to be the best, to be the option providing the most value. It's like I shared with my kids growing up. Winning isn't everything, wanting to is. And the only way I know to be the best is to compete on value, not on being the cheapest price. While the simple rule of material self-interest is considered a given for us as a human race, meaning we want to pay the least and get the most, that does not mean it's the only thing. Here at Synergy, we believe it is our duty to persuade the people we serve that it is not in their best interest to choose the cheapest price, especially when home improvement projects involve their gas, their electricity, their water, and their home, as well as city inspectors, permits, insurance, liability, and inviting others into their home and onto their property. And for that matter, with most other buying decisions in their lives. We are all likely able to agree that price is a factor. However, we believe our responsibility is to share with people we serve that the price is only one of many factors to consider when making an informed decision. We have gone to great lengths to craft presentations that masterfully implement these 7 principles of persuasion, along with numerous other skills and techniques contained within the science of influence. Let's briefly describe each of these 7 principles that we're referring to. First, reciprocity. In many social situations, we pay back what we have received from others. The key is to be the first to give and to ensure what we give is personalized and not expected. Next, consistency. We want our beliefs and our behaviors to be consistent with our values and our self-image. Consistency is activated by looking for and asking for small initial commitments. We like to be consistent with the things that we have previously said or done. And then third, social proof. This is a psychological and social phenomenon where we copy the actions of others in an attempt to undertake accepted behavior in a given situation, especially when we're uncertain. Social proof is more powerful when we are perceived as especially knowledgeable. Our technicians, CSRs, and our 5-star reviews can be invaluable in this regard. Our website, our brand, the way we look, act, dress, everything that we do, the details matter, and it all lends to social proof. The 4th principle of persuasion, likability. We are more likely to be influenced by people we like. People we like tend to have more perceived credibility and care about their appearance and are similar to us. If they compliment us, cooperate with us, and those that we feel an association with. And 5th, authority. We have a tendency to be influenced by people in positions of authority such as government leaders, law enforcement, doctors, lawyers, professors, and other perceived experts in their field. That's us! When we or our company offer valuable information, we build authority, and our audience becomes more likely to follow our suggestions moving forward. This means higher scheduling and closing rates, and that means more revenue or less marketing. And then 6th, scarcity. Scarcity requires us to make decisions regarding the efficient utilization of resources. Here we're referring to limited resources and limitless wants for the vast majority of the human race. We want more of the things we can have less of. It's not enough to simply share the benefits of what our prospects will gain if they choose us. We must also share what is unique about our offering and what they stand to lose if they fail to accept our proposal. And finally, number 7 of the 7 principles of persuasion, unity. We are inclined to say yes to someone we consider one of us. Individuals use tribe-like categories to define themselves, including nationality, family, their community, and even their favorite sports teams, just to name a few. Here's a hint when it comes to our mindset. If we view our customer as an adversary, we're most certainly going to be missing out on the principle of unity, and most likely likability, reciprocity, and consistency. So that's a brief overview of the 7 principles of persuasion that all of us can implement to become more effective and persuasive communicators. As we've created our content over the past 3 decades, we've consistently incorporated these principles within each of our scripts. There is no process, word, or phrase that we haven't carefully crafted that was not done for a specific purpose. Some clients have described our persuasive processes as cheat codes, and some have shared that while they never wanted to use or memorize scripts, they have now become rather addicted to mastering them. Some clients have said it's like a finely tuned Ferrari, Lamborghini, or Rolls-Royce has pulled up, the engine is revved, and all we have to do is take the wheel and drive. This brings us to the seventh foundation of the 7 foundations of effective communication and influence, and communicating without conflict. And this is what we refer to as the EKG method of performance. This relates to things like our tone, cadence, volume, and speed. Perhaps just as important as everything that we've outlined thus far is how we share the words we've chosen. And this will determine our results. What we refer to as our EKG method of performance is much like an EKG machine that monitors our heart. Here at Synergy, we like to equate similar characteristics to our communication style. And much like an EKG signaling that we're dead or dying when our heart flatlines, the same is true when we present with a monotone or flatline style. Our presentation is dead. Our sales career is dead. Our ability to influence is dead. And if we don't do something to revive it, our business could be dead very soon as well. We believe our ability to influence and therefore our results will be a reflection of how well we perform our intended presentations and words, not the presentations or words themselves. While the presentations that we've created and the words that we choose to share most certainly matter, a monotone or flatline presentation style is likely to communicate a lack of passion, energy, and enthusiasm for whatever it is that we are attempting to communicate. Imagine for a moment that there was a worldwide contest to prove what script was the absolute best script ever written or created for a specific presentation in a given industry. Obviously, this is not actually possible, but imagine for a moment that it was. If our team was given this proven script that had been determined to be the best in the world, could a single team member make this the worst script without changing a single word? Of course they could. And most of us at some point have unfortunately had a team member do exactly that. How is this possible? Because the performance is what matters most. If we perform the very best script without passion, without energy or enthusiasm, without certain voice inflections, intonations, volume, or speed, it can rapidly become the very worst. So let's chat for a moment about what different types of voice inflections, intonations, and speech cadences that are possible while using our EKG method of performance as a guide. There are several different things we can do to make our presentations, our scripts, and our words more engaging, more entertaining, and therefore more influential. First, let's examine the flat line. There is certainly a time and place to be right in the middle. However, we simply don't want to stay there for very long, or we're dead. If we begin along the flat line, we can increase the emotion by bumping up our voice inflection or intonation in one of 3 ways. First, we can speak faster. Second, we can speak louder. And third, we can speak higher. We think we can all easily understand faster and louder, but let's elaborate a bit more on higher. This is where we raise the pitch of our voice. This can most often lighten whatever it is that we are sharing or asking. For example, as we get into specific scripts, we can raise the pitch of our voice to help ensure that the question seems light and almost airy. This makes it easier for the prospect to agree with whatever it is that we're asking. This is because whatever is being asked doesn't seem heavy or like it's a huge decision that they're making. One of my favorites is to finish a question with, "Fair enough," in an upward, high-pitched voice inflection. In other situations, a downward voice inflection and tone can help to accentuate a point that we're trying to make and create even more emotion. Think about watching a scary movie. When there's about to be a scare, the music typically gets very low to create more of an emotion the movie is working to create. Then they blast some sort of horrific noise after the suspense has been building. And whether we're on the phone or presenting in person, we can create entirely different emotions and different levels of influence based on how we present the words that we're sharing. We trust that we're all beginning to realize that our results with effective communication will be determined by our preparedness, as well as our willingness and our ability to perform the words that we're presenting, not merely reading them off the page or regurgitating them from memory. Let's also talk about volume. There's an entire range of volume that can be implemented, much like turning up and down a stereo or television from 0 to 100. But for our purposes here, we'll just focus on 3 separate volumes. One is the monotone. This would simply be like a 50. We're right in the middle. Noticeably increasing the volume of our presentation could jump anywhere on the EKG method of performance between 75 to 100. And the opposite end of that would be somewhere between a 25 and say a 5, which would constitute a whisper. Interestingly enough, we can create just as much emotion with a whisper as we can with a very loud volume, and in some cases, perhaps even more. The point is that we can create emotion by lowering our voice, by lowering our tone, and by slowing our pattern of speech, our cadence. We can also create emotion by increasing our cadence or pattern of speech and by raising our volume. The key is not staying in any one place too long. If we're continuously talking loud and fast, that becomes the new monotone and will lose its impact. And if we're continuously talking low and slow, that becomes the new monotone and loses its impact. We believe the key to any performance is to mix things up, to keep the audience on their toes, to keep them guessing, if you will. The final piece to EKG method of performance is just as important as everything else that we've communicated here in this heartbeat example, and quite frankly, throughout the entirety of the 7 foundations of effective communication and influence, and communicating without conflict. It runs throughout each of the 7. It starts here, continues here, and ends here. In fact, we believe we cannot achieve the goal of being an effective communicator without this final piece. So what is it, we may be asking? Perhaps some of us watching or listening have already guessed it. And if not, I want everyone to really think about it for a moment. Once I share our opinion here, it will likely be one of those, of course, I knew that. Everyone knows that. So what piece is vital to this entire process and becoming an effective presenter? What piece runs throughout each of the 7 foundations, like blood coursing through our veins? What's feeding the organs? What's breathing in the breath of life to keep everything working together? Whether that be the ground rules or mindset or wordsmithing or rare listening, the science of influence or sentence structure, the 7 principles of persuasion or the EKG method of performance, the question becomes, what else is there? We're going to place 15 seconds on the Synergy clock and provide everyone a small window of time and opportunity to clear their mind, to allow their mind to focus, and to decide what they believe the answer is. What final piece is vital to this entire effective communication process that we have yet to identify? If you said body language, you nailed it. In addition to everything else, our body language will play a major factor in what we're communicating and how it's received. Not only could the EKG level of performance of how we read a script make the world's best script the world's worst, our performance of this script through our body language alone could equally have drastic results. And this applies to working on the phones, even when a customer cannot physically see us. Try smiling the entire time we're on a call. Try sitting up straight and moving with a purpose. The human condition is such that the person on the other end of the line will be able to sense the energy coming right through the phone. We must carry ourselves with confidence at all times while representing our company. We must look the part, act the part, smell the part, dress the part. And this doesn't mean we're cocky or arrogant, in fact, quite the opposite. But it also doesn't mean that we are timid or shy. It means we speak with confidence. We walk with confidence, with purpose. We control the call from start to finish in a respectful way. We are the professional. We must trust our process and we must consistently execute upon our process. We don't break eye contact at the most inopportune times, especially when making recommendations, stating the amount of the investment, or asking for the order by asking for their trust. Our body language during our presentation will either make us or break us. It will instill confidence and trust in the consumer, or it will inspire fear and doubt. We must find our balance and our center, and we must communicate our value with passion. Whether that's with a team member in the field, a potential customer on the phone, or a potential customer at a kitchen table, or a family member or friend, we believe it's the professional influencer's responsibility to engage and entertain with an EKG method of performance. If we're determined to become a more effective communicator and we're seeking to lower sales resistance while practically eliminating conflict from our conversations, we've now been given a proven formula for doing so. Now that it's been summarized into 7 foundations, it's surprisingly simple. And it will be one of the hardest things we'll ever do. Old habits die hard, and for most of us, these things have never been shared with us, especially not all in one place, or with customized, fully comprehensive processes. We're not saying it's going to be easy. We are sharing that we believe it will be worth it. Every word we share and how we share each one is having an impact on the person that we're presenting to. The other person's dial is moving. It's either a positive or a negative or a positive at all times. It will be up to us to decide if mastering these 7 foundations is worth it. At Synergy Learning Systems, we've created thousands of micro-learning training videos. From each foundational piece to the entire customized presentations, it's all here and it's all ready. And we have carefully crafted 52 weekly implementation processes to ensure every bit of it gets implemented where mastery is the result. And that will never happen overnight. We can have 2 things in life, but never at the same time, results or excuses. No matter the level of success that you've had, if what you've been doing isn't driving the results in your team that you've expected or desired, or your life, or your family, or your relationships, or your health, or your financial or spiritual life, perhaps it's time to begin doing something different. Maybe you've had a tremendous amount of success already, and your processes are already working. Perhaps it's time to supercharge your engines and give your processes an injection of new energy and excitement. Either way, we're ready to start serving and to start helping. And it would be an honor for us to serve you and work towards mastery together.